Hi all, welcome to the video. We'll start with a very gentle introduction to stringr library, which is used for handling and manipulating text. And what we are going to do here is create a data frame with some text, and we'll try to see how we can detect whether a particular string is present or not, and if it is present at what position. For this, I have basically taken a data frame where I have taken patient ID, and then I have taken the corresponding therapy. Let's say the patient has fever and he goes to the doctor. Let's say he first prescribes it paracetamol, and if paracetamol is not working, he then prescribes it brufen in the second visit, and eventually, if that is also not working, he then prescribes it dolo. I've just made this up just so that I have an example to play with, but yeah, normally in patient related or pharmacy related claims, what you get here is, a patient visits a doctor, and then a patient gets prescribed a certain medicine. He tries it out for a certain number of days, let's say a month or a month's period, and then if that is not working, he again visits a doctor, and then the doctor or physician assesses the situation, and then eventually he changes the medication. So I've created this data frame. If you look at the data frame, in one column I have patient ID, and in the second column I have therapy. Uh, the plus sign indicates a gap in therapy. So for, let's say, patient ID 1, the first line of therapy is paracetamol, then he changes the therapy to brufen, and then eventually it is changed to dolo. And similar interpretation can be taken for the other values. Now let's say I want to identify whether dolo is present or not in this particular therapy. For these patients, whether dolo was taken or not. So let's see how we can do that. We would have to basically use sapply, and sapply on which column? Therapy. Now we would have to write a custom function. Now what this custom function has to do is basically take each string, then split it based on this plus sign, and then once we get that vector, identify whether dolo is present or not. So let's I have x, then I have to split it. I have to split x based on the plus sign. Let's give it to x1. I have to then trim, because we will have spaces. So just to be on the safe side, let's trim x1 and assign it to x2. Once that is done, I will have to then check whether dolo, okay, so better yet, let me do whether dolo is present in x2 or not. So we'll basically be getting a logical vector of true false, and once we have that, let's assign it to x3. X3 will basically be true false, and we basically have to identify at which positions in x3 do we have dolo. So which x3, we will assign it to z. Just return z. Just to make things a little easy, let's assume that x is equal to this, which by applying by using sapply, it basically means the same thing. So x is this. So if I run this, it will be broken down into paracetamol, brufen and dolo based on the plus sign. Since it is still a list, so let's create it into a vector. If I now check what is x1, x1 is a vector. If I trim spaces from x1, it becomes x2 without any space. Then I check whether dolo is present in x2 or not. If I check x3, x3 is essentially a logical vector. We can see that the third position in the vector, or the third therapy, is essentially dolo. Now I basically want to return the matched position, which is at 3. So the third line of therapy is essentially your dolo. Now if there are multiple instances or multiple therapies where dolo has been taken, we want to get the first such thing. So we'll just take the first thing. Okay, now let me comment this out. Okay, see, okay, let me name it dolo position. Okay, so see, for this patient ID we know that dolo is taken as a third line of therapy, so dolo position is 3. In this second patient it is first, and in the third patient dolo is not taken, therefore it is not available or it is not present. So using the simple example, we saw how we can break a text using a string split function, and then we can do string matches. The first thing, I think if the strategy for handling text is just create a column which contains the text, or if it is already there, then use sapply, break the text into string split uh, using some symbol or using some regular expression. Currently, the regular expression we had was break it using a plus sign, and then once the text is broken based on a regular expression, then you basically identify whether the pattern that you want to match is present in that string or not. I hope this video was useful. If you like the video, do subscribe to my channel.